I had my doubts about these two classics, but after recently playing them both and seeing the light, I have just one question. Why the hell are we as sentient beings paying to become prey? It makes no sense that we all come with a predator defense system hardwired in, and still, we willingly seek out games that turn us into prey. The simple answer is it's adrenaline. That's not really a surprise, right? But I want to get down to the brass tacks, the nitty gritty. I attribute our participation in this masochistic ritual to three things. Walk with me. Talk with us. Yeah, I'm gonna work on getting out of here. But since you're still with me, the first of the three attributions is actually something I already mentioned. Our ancient hardwired predator defense system known as the fight, flight, or freeze response. And there's also fawning, but if you're more likely to fawn, you're probably not gonna play a game like this. So we're gonna leave that one out. Practical knowledge says that we're so hardwired to survive that we shouldn't even be interested in putting ourselves into a situation like this. But maybe we ain't practical. If I were, would I be here right now? No. Well, maybe. As a patient. Anyway, you may have noticed our brains ain't so good at telling the difference between real danger and simulated danger. The big difference between a Stalker enemy and a boss and like a Souls-like or an action horror game, you're usually outmatched in the Souls-like and action horror game, but the world is built in a way for you to get yourself in the best position possible to be able to take down the baddie. In a game like this, everything is actively working against you. This asylum takes every ounce of control you thought you were gonna have and obliterates it in your face. Want to be able to see what's lurking around the corner? Well, here's a video camera that makes every battery complete ass. Don't even think about fighting. You'll just get your head separated from your body. Oh, you were just gonna run away from him instead? Well, you might be okay, but you aren't actually fast enough to totally rely on that. Nor can you really see well enough to totally rely on that. Simply put, the less control you have in a game, the more likely your primal defense system is to activate in real life. And this doesn't even have to be through the usual means of like character speed, light source, or lacking the ability to fight back. The first hour and a half or so of Outlast has you sneaking through tight hallways, small cramped rooms that sometimes have people in them, and after you've gotten a bit used to that, without much warning, you're dropped into a void where light goes to die. There's really no indication of where you're supposed to go, but there's no time to bebop around and admire the smell either, because the heavy breathing and the rattling of chains you thought you'd evaded back in the cells, it's back, and it's accompanied by the sound of swooshing water, letting you know that the big mutant-like brute is closing in on you. Small changes like this, like a bigger, darker room and more sound cues, not only serve as a visual and mental reset, but they also reactivate your primal defense system. Stripping away the familiarity you had with the main part of the asylum, it forces that uneasy feeling back on you. And with it still being so dark, even when the camera's light is on, it makes hyper-focusing on the audio so much more important than it was before, which actually, hyper-focusing is part of that primal defense system that I keep talking so much about. So all of that to say, less control equals a more primed primal defense system. Sprinkle in a little, and that defense system goes from sufficiently primed to fully activated. Which leads me to another question, and number 2 of the 3 attributions. What in the Jimbo James sploinky oinky makes us want to continue to put ourselves in these situations? Like, if our own brains are taking it upon themselves to say, hey, I don't think you should be doing this, man. Yeah, whatever. Why do we keep coming back for more? That's kind of weird. Oh no, I just realized there's green in this shirt. There you go. You can still see Arthur's fist, which is a accurate representation of how I feel about this situation. Okay, see you in the next game. Now, I want you to to look me dead in the eyes and tell me this ain't scary. No. Don't look away. Give me your full undivided. That's right, this is terrifying. But here we are, friend. Let me ask you something. As a kid, did you ever play hide and seek? Surely you did. I swear, if you lied to me, we're done. Well, this is basically that, but more for adults, more socially acceptable. Now don't worry, I'm not about to sit here and go on about how hide and seek is some sacred game and we're all just kids deep down inside. Although, now that I'm saying that, it might be true. But the point that I'm making is that was fun back then. We'd voluntarily become prey, albeit playfully, but we were hunted nonetheless. Being actually hunted is an experience I pray no person, let alone a child, ever has to experience. But we would do that because being hunted was a game of cat and mouse, risk versus reward. Fast forward to adulthood, and we still find ourselves looking for experiences that allow us to feel that cat and mouse, risk versus reward feeling. Horror games that feature stalker enemies not only satisfy that desire, but we get to do it in the most intense ways, typically in settings we would never be in. Now, it's not uncommon for us to imagine ourselves the heroes in dangerous situations, but similar to the situation in Outlast, we're in an unfamiliar decaying house, our co-workers have all been brutally picked off one by one, and it's very clear we're being hunted by a psychotic pink bunny with a scythe. We don't really stand a chance, so get rid of the idea that you're a hero in this story immediately. All jokes aside, this shit is terrifying, but sneaking around the house and focusing to hone in and try to figure out where the bunny is, and sometimes even narrowly avoiding becoming his next decoration, it is so intense that it's fun. You're forced to decide how much of a risk you're willing to take with limited saves. Your movements have to be careful and almost tactical so that the bunny doesn't catch you around a corner. But if you aren't able to escape him, you got about a 50-50 chance of seeing a rather heinous death scene and lose your progress. It's safe to say, outside of a game, you don't normally experience this kind of fear in your day-to-day life. So this intense, horrific sort of fun kind of breaks up the monotony of your life and enhances the flavor of your weekly routines. The negative feelings induced allow us to better appreciate the positive feelings that we feel on a normal basis, or the less negative ones. That alone would be enough to not only keep us buying these games, but also to keep us subjecting ourselves to them. However, there is one more ingredient in this masochistic stew that really ties it all together. Back on the Sevestable, while trying to manually seal off doors, we're locked in with and being relentlessly tracked by the Xenomorph. Getting to that terminal means crossing ground that the Xenomorph is actively patrolling. Every step is a negotiation between speed and silence. One wrong move and that feeling after an encounter, all the tension leaving our body, the adrenaline and cortisol being flushed through your system, there's a given that that's gonna happen in any near-death situation. But all of this being contained in a box of fun, aka a video game, that reminds the conscious part of our brain that we're okay in real life. And that full flush of your body becomes more of a natural high. That's the thing about these Stalker horror games. This is the only way you can experience this unique twist of fun and primal response year-round. That year-round's doing a lot of heavy lifting because there is the, Halloween experiences, but I digress. And all three of those things, the primal response, the fun, and the natural high, that's what makes up what we sum up as the adrenaline rush that makes us want to play these games. Now, I'm nothing if not a man of the people. I wouldn't be doing anyone justice if I didn't point out that the Stalker enemies don't always work. As great as I personally think these monsters and murderers are, there's certainly some times where they're just straight up donkey ass. For instance, dealing with an unkillable tank while you're trying to figure out a puzzle, that kind of sucks. Stalkers with super predictable patrol patterns, that kind of sucks. A new Stalker enemy shows up late in the game that turns a slow playthrough into a sprint for safety. That kind of, well, you get the point. Outlast could have been a 9.8 out of 10 in my book because, nothing's perfect ever. But so close. So close. But the last segment of the game introduces this Flying Dutchman goofy ass, almost out of nowhere, might I add, which turns this experience that required slow, careful maneuvering into a speed run to the end game cutscene. Like, what are we doing, guys? Are we dead ass right now? Dead ass? As a little smooch on the cheek, the game makes the environment significantly brighter than the rest of the game, pretty much rendering your camcorder useless at this point. And whenever he shows up, he is constantly on your ass. I had a few cheap deaths in this part of the game because I was so used to being able to put just enough distance between me and the asylum freaks that I was still able to stop and climb up a vent or think for like a split second. But if I as much as have an intrusive thought about having my finger slip off the W key, my metaphorical goose is cooked. There's probably many other infuriating stalker type enemies out there, but I trust that you'll educate thee. You're good people. I trust. To be fair, everything in life has its own variation of stinkers. This is still by far my favorite horror subgenre. There's nothing more gripping than great audio paired with stealth, which is synonymous with more realistic and intense horror gameplay. The best stalker enemies can't be purely just obstacles. They need to be subtle or not so subtle reminders of our mortality. They have to keep us in check by letting us know, no matter how far we think we've gotten ourselves from the bottom of the food chain, we could still be some mountain lion's prey one day, knock on wood. When done successfully, it taps into our subconscious mind and plays with us as much as we play it. Really, kind of in the same way that retro graphics and modern horror games do. Thank you. Please feed my obsession in the comments. Point me in the direction of a game that's traumatized you, and I will do my absolute best to find something to overanalyze about it. For science.